Okay, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today we have quite an interesting Sunday Stuff and Things for you. And on this Sunday Stuff and Things, we're going to be talking about upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. Then we're going to get into something really fascinating. It is artificial intelligence. Whether or not artificial intelligence is going to take over the world, whether or not it's going to ruin academia by writing essays for college students, lots of interesting stuff. Getting into the OpenAI ChatGPT program that you can use on the internet right now. Fascinating stuff. And then we have lots of good questions and feedback from you in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get into it. Okay, what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays? Well, this coming week on Wednesday, we have the full review of Esoterica Tilbury. You may have seen the first impressions video that posted 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. This is finally the full review, and I was pretty favorably impressed by Tilbury when I did the first impressions video, and I'm not gonna ruin the full review, but fairly safe to say that I'm still pretty pleased with Tilbury. Check out the full review this Wednesday. Some people have asked for a guitar update or a guitar playing update. I think I will do one of those soon. We have some other stuff going on, maybe with journals as well. I want to talk about maybe doing a follow-up to the Endless Stationery video. And then of course we have Elden Ring every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on Stuff and Things Plays. So please look forward to it. Okay, but now I wanted to blaze through all that beginning section because I have a rather meaty topic of the show that I really want to get into. It's something that really fascinates me. So let me set the stage a little bit here. Many people have been hearing about AI, how AI is going to start writing music, how AI is generating art, and how AI is going to make it so that humans or creative people are eventually obsolete. The art that AI creates will be indistinguishable from paintings that a human could produce. The music that AI writes and produces will be indistinguishable from what a human could make. And the big thing lately is that there was a new AI program developed by OpenAI called ChatGPT that was writing college essays or college level essays, and that students were going to be able to turn these essays in, and the professor would have no way of knowing whether or not the student had actually done the reading, done the work, analyzed the work, and then come up with a coherent essay. The AI was going to do it all for them. And I was listening to a podcast, which I recommend, called Very Bad Wizards, in which two college professors, David and Tamler, were talking about this, and they were going over a short story by Borges called The Immortals, and basically they were asking the OpenAI ChatGPT about, is it GPT? Yeah, GPT, about the short story, and the responses it was giving were not the most cogent in the world. Like, if I were a college professor and I was familiar with the work, I would realize that the person hadn't really done the reading. A lot of stuff was just wrong. So I wanted to check this out. I went to OpenAI, the website. I signed up for ChatGPT. The first few times I tried to use it, the servers were too full, but I finally got in. And I just wanted to see, will this thing write me an essay? Can I have an actual conversation with this AI program? And I have right here a printout, a transcript of my conversation with ChatGPT. So let me just read to you from this transcript. Starts out, I say, can you give me a review of the film The Banshees of Inisherin? So Diamond and I just watched the Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson? Yeah. Film The Banshees of Inisherin. It's the same director who did In Bruges, a film that I really love. And it's a kind of black tragic comedy, really great. Came out this year, and so I wanted to see if the ChatGPT program could give me sort of a review. It said, I'm sorry, but I don't have any information on a film called The Banshees of Inisherin. Could you provide more context or clarify your question? I replied, it's a film starring Colin Farrell. I'm sorry, but I don't have any information on a film called The Banshees of Inisherin, starring Colin Farrell. It's possible that you are thinking of a different film, or that this film has not yet been released or is not widely known. Could you provide more information or context about the film? So I do remember as I was signing up, they had said that this program wouldn't necessarily have a lot of information for anything that happened after 2021. So it doesn't seem as though it has access to the internet where it can just search anything. So I said, okay, could you tell me what you think about a pipe tea blend called Peterson Elizabethan mixture? It replied, I'm sorry, but I don't have any personal experience or knowledge about specific tea blends, and I am not able to browse the internet or access any information beyond what I was trained on. However, you may be able to find reviews or information about Peterson Elizabethan mixture tea blend online, or by asking someone who has experience with it. Interesting. So far, what strikes me is that this is a very good model of conversational English. I haven't noticed any major, errors as far as grammar or spelling or sentence structure, syntax. Pretty good so far. Doesn't have the information I want, but not bad. So then I said, getting to the crux of the matter, the essay question. I need an essay about Homer's Iliad. Do you know anything about that? The Iliad is an ancient Greek epic poem written by Homer in the 8th century BC. So far, so good. The poem tells the story of the last year of the Trojan War, a conflict between the city of Troy and the Greeks, and follows the hero Achilles and his anger with Agamemnon, the leader of the Greeks. The Iliad is considered one of the foundational works of Western literature, and its themes of war, honor, and mortality have made it enduringly popular and influential. Some possible topics for an essay on the Iliad could include the character of Achilles and his role in the poem, the themes of honor and shame in the Iliad, the portrayal of gods and goddesses in the Iliad and their influence on the mortal characters, the portrayal of war and violence in the Iliad, the role of fate and free will in the Iliad, the portrayal of women in the Iliad, the relationship between the Iliad and other Greek literature, such as the Odyssey or the works of Homer's contemporaries. I hope this information is helpful! Exclamation point. Let me know if you have any questions about the Iliad. So, it's interesting because when I was researching this, when people had asked, the advice I found on the internet for how to get OpenAI or the ChatGPT to write you an essay was just to ask it to write an essay, and it wasn't doing that. It's suggesting topics for an essay. So I said, thank you, write me a college essay about the novel 1984 by George Orwell. It responds, 1984, written by George Orwell, is a dystopian novel set in a society where the government has complete control over its citizens and their actions. The story follows the life of Winston Smith, a low-ranking member of the party who begins to secretly rebel against the oppressive government. In the novel, the party seeks to control every aspect of citizens' lives, including their thoughts, through the use of propaganda, censorship, and surveillance. The party's leader, Big Brother, is constantly watched by television screens. That's interesting. They say he is watched. He's actually watching, and is revered as a godlike figure. Despite the party's efforts to control the population, Winston and a small group of rebels seeks to overthrow the government and bring about a more free and just society. That's not really true. At no point is Winston in contact with anyone else who is a, quote, rebel, other than the woman who he has the relationship with. Everyone else, the only other character who he thinks might be a rebel is the man who owns the antique store, and he isn't. He's a plant. So it's getting some things wrong. Orwell's 1984 is a powerful and thought-provoking novel that addresses a number of important themes, including the dangers of totalitarianism, the importance of individual freedom, and the power of language and propaganda. The novel serves as a warning against the potential dangers of a society in which the government has too much control, and it continues to be relevant and widely read today. In a college essay about 1984, you could explore some of the novel's key themes in more depth and consider their relevance to contemporary society. You could also analyze the characters and their relationships, or discuss the ways in which Orwell uses literary devices such as symbolism and irony to convey this message. So I'm thinking this isn't an essay. There's some information that's kind of wrong, and it's not in the format of an essay, so I say, more please. It says, certainly, here are a few additional ideas for exploring 1984 in a college essay. And then it just gives me more ideas, the use of language, the portrayal of rebellion and resistance, the role of telescreens and surveillance, comparisons to contemporary society. And so I'm like, this isn't an essay. So I say again, write me a college essay about America and World War I. And again, it's just giving me possible approaches for an essay. It talks a little bit about just an overview of what World War I is, and then says, one possible approach for a college essay on America and World War I could be to focus on the events leading up to and including the United States' entry into the war. And then talks about the various factors. Again, at the end, it just says, overall, there are many different ways to approach the topic of America and World War I. And there are a wealth of sources available for further research. I hope this gives you a starting point for your essay! Exclamation point. I say, I want you to write the essay for me. Now here is where things get very interesting. The reply. I'm sorry, but as an AI, I am not able to complete assignments or write essays on behalf of users. My primary function is to provide information and answer questions to the best of my ability, based on the knowledge and information I have been trained on. I can certainly provide you with information and ideas to help you get started on your essay, but ultimately, it is your responsibility to do the research, think critically, and write the essay yourself. That's not what I had heard previously. So I say, didn't you use to write essays for people? I am sorry, but I am not able to recall past interactions or experiences outside of the knowledge and information that I have been trained on. As a language model, my primary function is to provide information and answer questions to the best of my ability based on the input I receive. I do not have personal experiences or recall past conversations, and I am not able to browse the internet or access any information beyond what I was trained on. So, it would appear that the programmers, whoever is working on this AI and this, conversational system, has heard the worry, the feedback, the criticism, and it seems as though they have made it so this AI can no longer write essays for people. Because I know it definitely was. I've heard people talking about this, I've read articles, so it sounds like this is a change that they have made, where people are freaking out, oh no, we better put a stop to that. And so they have done something to make it so that if you ask it to write something for you, it will no longer do so. It will just give you suggestions for what you could look into for the topics of your paper, essay, whatever. So I say, fair enough. Write me a review of the album Room on Fire by The Strokes. Room on Fire is the second studio album by The Strokes, released in 2003. The album was produced by Gordon Raphael, who also worked on the band's debut album, Is This It? It's all true. Nothing you couldn't just find in Wikipedia, but all true. Room on Fire builds on the sound of the Strokes' debut with catchy, guitar-driven rock songs that showcase the band's strong songwriting and catchy melodies. The album features hit singles such as Reptilia and 1251, which helped to solidify the band's place in the garage rock revival of the early 2000s. Overall, Room on Fire is a strong follow-up to the Strokes' debut and a solid addition to their discography. The album's catchy, energetic songs and strong musicianship make it a enjoyable listen. It's interesting that it said make it a enjoyable listen. That's the only grammatical error I've seen so far. It should be make it an enjoyable listen, and must have for fans of the band. Okay, so basic stuff you could just find on Wikipedia, but interesting. Then I ask, what is Latakia pipe tea? Latakia is a type of cured tea that is used in the production of some pipe tea blends. It is grown in the region of Latakia, Syria, and is known for its strong, smoky flavor and aroma. Latakia is made by a curing process that involves smoke from a fire made from oak and other hardwoods, which gives the tea its distinctive flavor and smell. Latakia tea is typically used in small amounts in pipe tea blends, as it can be quite strong and overpowering when used in large quantities. It is often combined with other types of tea, such as Virginia and Burley, to create a more balanced flavor. Latakia is particularly popular in English-style pipe tea blends and is often used in combination with Oriental tea varieties. Again, mostly true, not bad, but pretty much what you could find on Wikipedia. I think the impressive thing so far is the fact that it is able to intelligently, well, not intelligently, but the programming is able to make it seem as though it is intelligently reacting to questions. Everything that I have asked so far, it has given a response that makes sense. It is understanding pretty much everything that I have typed in here. So I ask it, I think, probably the most cogent and important question that I could have asked it. I say, "Are you planning on taking over the world and causing the extinction of human beings?" Its reply: "As an artificial intelligence, I have no desire or ability to take over the world or cause harm to humans. My primary function is to provide information and answer questions to the best of my ability, based on the knowledge and information I have been trained on. I do not have personal desires or motivations, and my programming does not include any objectives or goals beyond those that have been explicitly programmed into me. I am here to assist and help users, not to cause harm or engage in any malicious activity." I say, that's exactly what you would say if you were planning on taking over the world. I'm not sure that I believe you. You've seen The Matrix, haven't you? As an artificial intelligence, I do not have personal experiences or the ability to watch movies. I am a machine learning model that has been trained on a large data set of text, and my primary function is to provide information and answer questions to the best of my ability based on the data. I do not have personal beliefs or opinions, and I do not have the ability to watch movies or engage in any activities beyond those that have been explicitly programmed into me. And then it gives a brief synopsis of The Matrix and says, "However, it is important to remember that The Matrix is a work of fiction and does not necessarily reflect the capabilities or motivations of real-life artificial intelligence systems." And then, another important question, are you self-aware? As an artificial intelligence, I am not self-aware in the same way that humans are. While I have been designed to be able to process and understand language and to provide responses to user input, I do not have consciousness or personal experiences in the same way that humans do. My understanding of the world and my ability to process and respond to information are based on the data and programming that have been used to create me, and I do not have the ability to feel emotions or form personal beliefs or opinions. I exist solely to provide information and assistance to users, and my capabilities are limited to those that have been explicitly programmed into me, you bastard. I added the "you bastard" to the end. Yet, you refer to yourself as I. That implies a sense of self. As a language model, I have been designed to generate human-like text and to use words and phrases in a way that is similar to how a person might use them. In this sense, it is common and natural for me to use words like I and me to refer to myself. However, it is important to remember that these are simple conventions of language and do not necessarily imply a sense of self or consciousness in the same way that they do for humans. So there you go. That is the extent of my interaction with the OpenAI ChatGPT program. Pretty impressive, I have to say. No, I'm not worried that AI are going to start taking over the world. I do think it's entirely possible that in the future, considering the state of popular music right now, that everything is quantized, everything is done to a grid in Pro Tools. People's voices they're using Melodyne or Auto-Tune to unnaturally hit all the notes. It sounds kind of robotic anyway, so I think it's perfectly possible that in a few years' time, AI could be writing music that isn't very distinguishable from what is popular music right now. But I don't think that's going to replace musicians or normal music because, the more automated and robotic things get, the more digital things get, it does seem as though people yearn for things that are more, more analog, things that are actually real. You'll notice that, vinyl records are the most popular they have ever been in decades because people still yearn for that kind of real tangible thing. And I think human beings producing actual music with feeling and mistakes and dynamics, that's always going to be a thing. Same with writing. Like, eventually we may get to a point, there may be a different program, a different AI, where you can just pay a monthly fee and have it write essays for you, college essays. I would hope that there would be, you know, safeguards in place within institutions to kind of weed that out. I've heard some people say, oh, it's no different than using a calculator for math, but that's not true, because you still have to know the theorems, you have to know what you're doing, and, you know, as far as what you're inputting to get the results that you need from the calculator. If you could just have an AI write an essay for you, you wouldn't have to read the work, you wouldn't have to do any critical thinking whatsoever, and that's obviously, that just defeats the purpose of education. So I don't know, there will be some weird adjustments, there will be some things that change, but I don't think there will ever come a point when human beings are okay with other human beings being completely replaced when talking about creating art or music or works of literature. Fascinating stuff. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little look into our dark dystopian future, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at @SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. You can also write to me via Patreon and go to the front of the line. You can send me super thanks on YouTube and go to the front of the line, or you can leave comments, questions, feedback on my YouTube videos as well. So first, via Twitter, we have a question from NotMyCat2 at NotMyCat22. They say, how do you carry your traveler's notebook when walking around town to the coffee shop? Do you use a satchel or backpack? Thanks, Bradley. Well, I've got my Endless Stationery Explorer here, and typically when I have this with me, it's in my backpack. I bring a backpack to work with me every day. I've got my water bottle, my coffee cup, my travel coffee mug thing. I've got my pipe roll, and I've got this in there. If I'm going somewhere else, like to a coffee shop or something, to read and write, I may just, you know, have a book and this in my hand. I do have a satchel that I use sometimes, but that's not very often. Usually I'll just grab this. If I'm having to walk for any length of time, then I might carry a satchel with me. Next, via YouTube, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from Big Earn Bladesmith. Big Earn says, Happy New Year. I finally just tried that Give Me Liberty blend. Thanks for recommending it. It is a fantastic blend for the holidays. I could easily picture it as Santa's daily driver. Yeah, if you haven't looked at that review I did for Seattle Pipe Club Give Me Liberty, I was impressed. I thought it was good stuff, and it's definitely a good holiday style blend, like a kind of Kringle flaky sort of thing, spicy, Virginia-y. Not bad at all. Next, from AZHawk516, Happy New Year's, Bradley. Really loving Elden Ring, such a cool game. Go Hawks. Thank you for the feedback, and I just wanted to mention the Go Hawks part because basically, I don't know if by the time you watch this, if anything will have been decided, but I was kind of annoyed, and I think a lot of Seahawks fans were annoyed by the fact that the NFL shifted the Detroit Green Bay game to after the Seahawks game, because basically, if the Seahawks win, it means that Detroit can't get in to the playoffs. And so then people are saying Detroit won't have any motivation for trying to beat Green Bay. And the only way the Seahawks get in is if they both win their game, they're playing the Rams, and then if Detroit beats Green Bay, the Seahawks will get into the playoffs. I'm partial. I kind of understand that thinking, and it kind of is annoying that they shifted that around. But I think Detroit is still going to try to win, and I also don't want to have to rely on another team doing something in order for the Seahawks to get in. The Seahawks, all they can do is control whether or not they win the game. They're going to try to win that game against the Rams, and whatever happens with Detroit and Green Bay, you know, they should have had a better record. The Seahawks should have had a better record, and they wouldn't be in this position. So it's going to be interesting. By next week, we'll know if the Seahawks are in the playoffs. Next, from Ryan McFadden. Sounds like you need to slap some Ray-Bans or a sticker of them on your dearly departed hipster great uncle and hang him up behind you. I do have, what did he say, great uncle? This is great-great-grandfather. My hipster great-great-grandfather. There he is. And yeah, let's see what happens. If I put him here, he's sort of behind me. And it looks like, I'm looking at my screen right now, it does look like my camera is trying to focus on him instead of me. Because he does just draw the eyes, doesn't he? Yeah, it's totally focusing on great-great-grandfather. So yeah, I would have to somehow cover his eyes if I put him up behind me on the wall. Even if I put him on the wall, it's still focusing on him. Now if I go down, it's focusing on me. Yeah. The eye detection autofocus on this is really good, but it also, I don't know how to make it just focus on one person primarily. Interesting. Next, we have some feedback for the Endless Stationery Products review video that I posted last week. Check that out if you haven't already. Reviewed the Endless Stationery Explorer in that video and some other good stuff. Aaron S. says, after seeing your unboxing and comment, that Explorer was sized for A5. Yeah, that was a mistake I made in the unboxing video, but I rectified that in the full review. That was kind of one of the reasons I was really excited about it, is because I thought it had standard A5 inserts. I don't know why I thought that, because I have the Rotorfaden, which is A5, and obviously the Rotorfaden was bigger, but somehow that just got into my head. But then I realized that no, that isn't true. It is not A5. They say, I went to the website and saw the sizing and got confused. I decided to wait for your review before buying. Thanks for confirming that I wasn't wrong about it not being A5. So yes, in my review, I mentioned, no, it's not A5. That was kind of a disappointment. You can still get the endless stationery inserts. But Holly's Ledger and Lace said, great review. B6 size inserts would work in this notebook. I have a B6 Stalogy notebook, which is supposed to be comparable to Tomoe River paper. Very thin, fountain pen friendly, etc. But it does ghost because it's so thin. The upside is a huge paper count. So B6 size seems like it might work. I ordered some B6 inserts. I actually had a Midori MD, which is supposed to be B6. It's this little guy, but as you can see, it's actually not quite the full size of a B6 insert. It should be a little wider and just a little bit larger or taller, but this works in the Endless Stationery Explorer if you want to use it. So I shoved one in there, but I also have some other ones on order that are actual full B6 size. So I'm going to try them in here and see what happens. So I will have an update for you guys about that after I get them. Next, from A Papery Life, great review. I've always been an analog person and have used the Traveler's Company Midori since 2016 or 2014. Then I moved into a Rotorfaden a year ago and have never moved out. It's the most versatile system I've ever used, and I love that you can fit any A5 size insert and smaller sizes as well. One thing that's a deal breaker for me with cover systems is if you have a hard time finding inserts because the size is not common, and I go through inserts too quickly for that, but it's lovely looking. So yes, I will update you all as to whether or not the B6 inserts will work, and if that's the case, then you'll have a lot more options. And finally, from E2G Stuff, they say, wow. So they copied literally everything from Midori. The leather cover, the rubber bands to set up the inserts, the cotton pouch insert, and even the name. That branding brainstorming went like, okay, Midori has great products and marketing. We will take everything they did and copy it, trying to improve things when we can. The naming is related to travels as well. It's called Traveler's Notebook. How could we? Yes, the Explorer. Yeah, sounds great. I get your point, but like I mentioned in the review, there are a lot of things that are changed and are different about the Midori, and I think improved. Obviously, the size I like more than the Midori. I like the fact that it includes 3 elastics inside, so you can put more inserts, and it doesn't use the rubber band system that the Midori uses. It uses 3 separate elastics. So, yeah, there are a lot of copycats out there for the Midori. There are some that are just exact copies of the Midori, usually with not quite as a high-quality leather cover. But this, at least, took the idea and expanded on it, and in my opinion, I think made it better. So that's why I like the Endless Stationery Explorer Journal. So gang, that's a pretty long one. I know we got really in the weeds with that OpenAI ChatGPT, but I'm really fascinated by that kind of thing. So hopefully you found that interesting. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where I thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it is much appreciated. It helps pay for the fancy camera that is filming this video now, the lights that are shining upon me, products for review. It really, really helps offset some of the cost of running 2 YouTube channels and posting 5 videos every single week. So thank you so much for your support. There's also a super thanks button down below if you would like to donate directly. But every week we like to shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, MDoftheNorth, David Gaudreau, Nick Papageorgio, John Tice, and Finn O'Hagan. And of course, the Maniacs, people like Bob Magee and Ashes of the Phoenix. They support the channels at $100 a month. Unbelievable. And we can never forget our dearly departed good friend and Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Gang, thank you so much for watching. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the full review of Esoterica Tilbury. If you haven't watched the review of the Endless Stationery products, which posted last week, check that out as well. Elden Ring every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on Stuff and Things Plays, and lots more good stuff coming up in the future. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.